are going to talk about makeup, poisonous makeup, toxic makeup that in history has almost killed very important and famous and popular figures and entire generations of aristocrats. Let's talk about that. Hi guys, I'm sure that the very last thing you expected me to talk about is makeup, and you're right. You're right. I am certainly not able to prepare a makeup tutorial for you, but what I can do is talk about history and a very creepy fact. Poisonous and toxic makeup has almost killed one of the most famous sovereign in British history, and has also, yes, almost killed a few generations of aristocrats during the Victorian age. But why is that? So let's start talking about Elizabeth I Tudor. We have already talked about her a lot. We have an entire video here on this channel, on this playlist, talking about her as a sovereign, how she influenced Britain at the time, and how she created the so-called Golden Age. We're talking about the second half of the 16th century. Well, now, part of her popularity and part of her power also came from her image. We know that she wanted to create a sort of to create a sort of an icon, okay, to be sort of an icon, to stop being just a woman, okay, and to start being the Virgin Queen who didn't want to marry any man, okay, from any other country. She just wanted to be married to her kingdom and to her people. In order to do that, and in order to wear the crown of a king, as she said, okay, she also had to, and I'm quoting some books here, to remove the taint of her sex, okay, so no red cheeks, okay, she had to create a very you can say a very iconic image. And obviously, apart from the hair and the dresses and all that, of course, she also had to appear in a specific way, and she needed makeup in order to do that. And that's not the only reason. When she was 29 years old, unfortunately, she had smallpox, and after that her face was terribly scarred. So one of the reasons why she decided she wanted to use such a very thick makeup was also to hide, okay, the scars that remained after smallpox. Well, anyway, long story short, she used lead-based makeup. Yes, you heard it correctly, lead-based. And it was called Venetian Ceres or Spirits of Saturn, but okay, the name doesn't change the thing that, there was lead inside that product, and she used a lot of it. It took hours, okay, to put the product on her face, and it stayed there for weeks. So you can imagine. And when they removed the makeup, they used another product that, had many ingredients, but the most important one was mercury. Besides, she also wanted to have these incredibly red lips, and in order to do that, she used mercury-based lipsticks. So lead, okay, on the face, mercury on the lips, and mercury in order to remove the whole Venetian Ceres. And obviously, year by year, the skin became obviously more scarred, and it was damaged. And in order to cover that, they put even more makeup on. So you can imagine the results. Well, when she died in 1603 at the age of 69 years, so I mean, yeah, considering the period, that wasn't bad. But anyway, she didn't allow a post-mortem. So we don't actually know the real cause of her death. Many people think it was because of pneumonia. Other people said that it was because of cancer or a streptococcus, because of a sort of an infection of her tonsils. But many people consider also the possibility that it was just a blood poisoning, okay, caused by the makeup. So this makeup, lead and mercury based makeup, could actually poison her blood. We're not sure about that. They discovered, found out that this makeup was in fact poisonous, toxic, only 31 years after her death. What we know for sure is that some of the symptoms she had were absolutely related to this, say, poisonous makeup or whatever. Amongst other symptoms, we can remember hair loss, for example, or memory loss, to depression, irritability, and many others. Anyway, okay, you could easily imagine that after 31 years they discovered that all these things were poisonous, were toxic, and so they didn't use them anymore. Wrong. So during the Victorian age, during the Victorian era, there was another awful trend. Women belonging to the upper class, belonging to aristocracy, had a new ideal of beauty. And this ideal of beauty was Marie Duplessis. Marie Duplessis is very well known as the Lady of the Camellias, and she was the protagonist, the main character of the very famous novel by Alexandre Dumas, and it was published in 1848. Anyway, she was so incredibly beautiful, but she was also dying, okay, from tuberculosis. And her appearance was obviously influenced by her disease, her condition. I mean, she was literally dying, and that's why her skin was so pale. This is why her eyes were, yes, certainly bright with dilated pupils, but it was because of the fever. Also, her lips were red because she was feverish. Now, women wanted to look like her. And in order to do that, they started using some products that are still quite famous. One of them is we could call it a sort of an anti-aging cream. The name was Laird's Bloom of Youth. And the main ingredients were lead carbonate and lead acetate. So you can imagine how safe it could be. Obviously, it induced fatigue and nausea and muscular dystrophy to the point of paralysis. So that was extremely dangerous, okay, and debilitating. Another amazing product they used was another one called Safe, that was in the name, Safe Arsenic Complexion Wafer. Obviously arsenic based. This product was advertised and produced by Dr. James P. Campbell at first, and Dr. Rose, he's maybe even more famous. And obviously arsenic destroyed red blood cells, and that is why people became pale. But that wasn't very healthy, was it? And what they also talked about in the advertisements, they talked to these doctors, they talked about this incredible and safe product, and they said that it could be eliminate vulgar redness or freckles or pimples, and it could give women a transparent and fresh and clean skin. Well, yes, probably. I mean, they were dying, you know. As for the eyes, they wanted to reproduce those dilated pupils, and in order to do so, they used another product based on belladonna. And we know this is toxic, and it could actually, I mean, there was the risk to become blind, which is, I mean, not just a side effect. So we can see that the whole mixture can very well explain also this traditional stereotype when we read books about ladies, about women, aristocrats during the Victorian age. The idea is always that these ladies are so weak, they faint, they can't walk, they're pale, they suffer from consumption. Now, I'm not saying that all of these things depended on the makeup. Of course, there were other problems at the time, but certainly that didn't help. And it was a sort of a gradually, day-by-day poisoning. Obviously, it involved only women, ladies belonging to the upper class, aristocracy, because workers didn't have the time or the money or any interest in any of that. I mean, they had other problems during the Victorian age and other reasons to die. Unfortunately, it was a very difficult period with Industrial Revolution and all that. I mean, their health condition was so poor, so bad, and so unfortunately they had died very frequently, but the reasons were completely different. In this case, well, it's crazy to think that people could die. Oh, by the way, just one more thing. In order to wash their hair, they used ammonia. Okay, this is just a plus. Anyway, well, it's very sad and extremely dramatic to think that people could die in order to follow some ideal of beauty. But at the same time, it's not, I mean, this is something that we witness like every day in our society, in our time. And so what can I tell you? Just follow your ideal of beauty, but don't die over it. Okay? Take care and see you soon.